Henry and the Pesky Piglet. Henry was tucking into some of the juiciest berries imaginable. His delirious grunting filled the air. He was, after all, something of a hog, a hedgehog, no less. Grunting came quite naturally to him. However, he thought his grunting was softer, sweeter, and far more appealing than the deafening grunts of the wild boars in the forest. When alarmed, the local sounder made so much noise. It was as though the forest was filled with thunder, shattering the gentle rhythms of forest life. It wasn't so different when they were all troughing their dinner. As Henry grunted softly, sinking his tiny teeth into his adorable meal, the grunts reminded him about Piglet. Oh, he was such a naughty, wonderful, mischievous, delightful, enthusiastic and happy little squeaker, he pondered. But his antics did irritate the entire forest. However, many of the animals had reached the end of their patience. He was the youngest of the litter born the previous year, and had proved to be a rascal, causing so much trouble and getting up to endless scrapes. He had bullied the ducklings, stolen from the weasel's burrow, raided the stoat's den, and dug up the badger's garden. He never seemed to learn. Now, as a juvenile, and having left the group, he was still up to his old tricks. Henry, though, had a soft spot for him, and still called him Piglet, even though his early stripes had faded, and he was a strong young boar. He remembered all his early problems and muddles. However, it wasn't just tricks. Piglet seemed out of control. Now, many of the animals wanted him punished, locked up, or sent away. A week later, a very angry mole protested. "Enough is enough! Piglet had destroyed his newly dug tunnel," Squirrel agreed. "He has eaten all the acorns I have been carefully hiding ready for winter." Pine Marten raised her voice. "He must leave today. He is no longer welcome here. We don't like nasty animals spoiling our happy forest." They began to chant. "Piglet out! 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 Piglet out! Out! Out!" Henry, meanwhile, was snuffling along the ground looking for fruits. Above the grunting of the nearby wild boars, Henry became aware of this other strange rumpus. Amid the rise and fall of angry cries, he could just make out the words, "Out! Out! Out!" A few moments later, Piglet came into view, carrying a little suitcase with him, and Henry noticed that his sad face was wet, with the tears tumbling down his snout. He was mumbling to himself sorrowfully. They don't understand. They haven't realised and just aren't aware. No one cares. I'm just good for nothing, being thrown away like an unwanted thing, a nuisance, a problem. I may as well just walk towards the horizon and never stop." Henry decided that he had to do something. He produced his loudest possible grunt that stopped Piglet in his tracks. Looking round, he was surprised when Henry shuffled out from under the blackberry thorns. "Dear Piglet, what is the matter?" inquired Henry in his most concerned voice. No one had ever asked him that question before. They had shouted at him, scolded him, been angry with him, and told him how very bad he was. But Henry's question was like a strawberry, bright, sweet, and so appealing. Piglet was just about to answer, but he stopped himself. "Don't let this prickly impostor pig fool you," he thought to himself. "He's just being cruel, knowing I've been banished from the forest." Pig hung his head, ignored Henry, and trudged on his way. Henry's mind was doing acrobatics, working out what had happened and where Piglet was heading, and suddenly, in a flash of cleverness, he knew. "Don't leave, Piglet," he said boldly. "Come and live with me for a while." Piglet froze. He stood totally still. His tears fell shining, like tiny diamonds on the mossy path. Someone wanted him. Despite all his naughtiness, Henry's heart was big enough to invite him to his home. The months passed, the rains came, and one night a storm ripped a branch from the old beech tree. It came crashing down and caught the pine marten's leg, pinning her to the ground. All the animals tried to free her, but the branch was too bulky for any of them to move, and Pine Marten's life was slipping away. "Quickly," screamed Henry to Squirrel, "run to my home and ask my friend, the wild boar, to come and help." Wild Boar came thundering through the undergrowth with such power that the animals shuddered in fear. He wedged his tusks into the bark of the branch and with a giant strength lifted it enough for the Pine Marten's leg to be released. Not satisfied with this act of kindness and mercy, Wild Boar tenderly placed Pine Marten on his back and carried her carefully back to her home in the crevice in the rock. In the days that followed, he brought her fruits, berries, and fungi to build her strength. When Pine Marten was fully recovered, she invited the forest animals to a party and presented Wild Boar with a heart-shaped bowl made out of grasses filled with his favourite dish, acorns. Everyone wanted to know who this exceptional Wild Boar was and when he had arrived in the forest. Henry stood up. "But he was born in the forest, my dear friends, and has always lived here. This is that naughty young wild pig you sent away, but he came to live with me instead. Oh, he had so many burdens then that none of us knew about, but love soothed and sorted them all. And look now at the wonderful wild boar he has become, and how kind and good is his heart.